Well, hello again. My name is Philip Harrelson. I'd like to welcome you back to the Barnabas Study. And I mentioned here a few days ago, I'm going to do a series of videos here over the next several days and weeks about the Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, written in 1678, almost 350 years ago, and has had pretty astounding success, considering that it's the second most published book outside of the KJV Bible. And so I just thought I would sit down and maybe pull some things out of Pilgrim's Progress. If you've never read the book, I'm going to be working through some of the just kind of read through it, kind of summer reading, whatever you want to call it. Got my ideas, actually inspiration from my grandson, Asher. He has just finished the 4th grade, about to go into the 5th grade. Well, the 4th grade year, their teacher there at Bethel Christian Academy, they had to read Pilgrim's Progress. And he had a lot of extra homework assignments and various things, gotten involved with that, and he really did well learning the story. And so I'm going to, it's been a little while since I have read straight through Pilgrim's Progress. I have certainly used it for a lot for sermon illustrations, various things like that. But I picked up an old paperback copy that I have, and I'm using this one right here. It's the Barnes and Noble, the Pilgrim's Progress, John Bunyan, Barnes and Noble Classics, and I've already started, as you can see, maybe making some marks here and there and highlights and marginal notes and various things like that. So I'm going to spend some of the summer maybe trying to pick your interest in this. But before we do that, I want to kind of go into a little bit of a biographical sketch of John Bunyan. And John Bunyan, born in 1628, and very poor parents, and just extensive poverty. His dad was a metal worker, and Bunyan would end up following in that. In those days, they called him a tinker, and they would go around and fix cast iron cooking pots. That was a lot of the part that they would do. I'm certainly sure probably some blacksmith skills that they had to go along with that as well. And so he worked in that area. During that particular period of time, the Church of England had really departed from a lot of its moorings, doctrinal, various things like that. Obviously, I have some theological challenges with some of that that was in that day, but Bunyan and his parents, they were kind of what you would consider those that did not, that they moved away from the teachings of the Church of England, got caught up with a group of people called the Puritans. And you may remember the Puritans were some that came over on the Mayflower. That was one of the reasons they came to the United States, despite what some historical revisionist would try to do. But they did come to the U.S. for religious freedom, religious expression, and so that's why that they ended up crossing over on the Mayflower. If you've never read the Puritans, I have over the years extensively. I got turned on to the Puritans probably 30 plus years ago now. Early 90s, Brother Ernie Jolly was kind of the one that kind of bumped me in the direction of that. I guess my first exposure to the Puritans was a book written by Thomas Brooks, Precious Remedies Against Satan's Devices. And so I've read through that several times, a little small paperback Puritan paperback, or pocket paperbacks from Banner of Truth. Just really good devotional writings. William Gurnall, The Christian in Complete Armor. So I kind of got keyed into some of those areas. But Bunyan and his parents were involved in that. And Bunyan did not have any formal education during that period of time, but there was a lot of people who had exposure to the King James Version of the Bible, and so they were big Bible readers. And despite the fact that he did not have any real formal education, one of the Puritans, John Owens, said this about Bunyan. He said, I would trade all my learning to be able to have the education that the tinker has. Now, I've got Owens' books up here on the top shelf, 16-volume set, works of John Owens, 7-volume set on Hebrews, and Bunyan's works are complete, little set, 3 volumes compared to Owens. But Owens said that Bunyan had an incredible ability, despite no formal education, to be able to expound the Word. And so he did spend some time in the military. 1649, went into the military. In 1655, his wife died, and that was pretty common back then for people to die very young. Also, children would die during that period of time. They had a lot of challenge with suffering that we do not have because of the advances of modern medicine. But he was left behind with 4 children that he had to raise. One of his daughters, I believe her name was Anne, she was blind. And so whenever Bunyan remarried after that, his second wife really had a lot of influence on his spiritual life. And so the state church there, Church of England, had a group of people that were involved there with what was called the dissenters. And because Bunyan found himself part of that, he ends up getting thrown into prison, and he goes to prison in 1660. He's 32 years old, or 32 years old whenever that takes place. He would end up spending 12 years in prison before he was allowed to leave there. It was while he was in prison that he did write Pilgrim's Progress, and there's actually 2 parts to Pilgrim's Progress, and he was able to write that while he was in prison. Little did he realize or know the impact that it would have on our English society. But it's been translated, I think, in somewhere around 200 languages worldwide. And that just shows you the power of writing. If you have the ability to write, you can really make some strong headway in being able to influence. And he said that he never would have gained the insight on Scripture if he had not been sent to prison. So while he was locked up for those 12 years, and they told him that if you want to leave anytime that you decide that you're not going to preach the Bible, you're more than willing, or we're more than willing to let you go. And so it's obvious that he was there in the prime of his life. And after he got out, he ended up going on and becoming a pastor. And they met in a barn. He died in 1688, 60 years of age there. And he certainly impacted people with his writings. And I guess his most famous one I mentioned in a previous video, his most famous obviously is the Pilgrim's Progress, but at the same time he also wrote a book called The Holy War, and it's allegory as well, and it starts out basically with the fall of man and about how that Diabolus goes and attacks a city, and the name of that city is called Mansoul. And so there's a lot of play on words that is there. But this story presents a picture of about a man that is on his way to the celestial city. And he is leaving the city of destruction and finds himself on the way to that area. And so I'll pick up in the next video. Just wanted to kind of give you a little brief biographical sketch, and obviously there's a whole lot more than just this short 10-minute video on the life of Bunyan. But I just wanted to try to give you a little bit of a sketch about what John Bunyan was about in his life there, his time that he spent in prison, and all that sort of thing. So we'll pick back up maybe with some more things about Bunyan in the next video. So once again, thanks for stopping by, and the Lord bless you.